To me, the sound is a very important part of the picture. It's not just an assembly line thing where you sort of cut the picture and then you just dump the sound on later. It's much more thought out than that.
The sound effects in Star Wars are really what gives these fantastic visuals credibility. And we just take for granted that these machines, these weapons, these aliens,
enjoy your stay,
these places are all real. There always had to be someone selecting or creating the sounds that would be put into the soundtrack. And there's a real legacy there. The recordings live on. You know, we have over 5,000 sounds in the Star Wars library, and I've been recording things since about 1975. And I've kind of kept a mental record of the things we've recorded, kind of a living database, I guess. Quite often I go back to the original tapes to find new material that we've never sampled before. But the stock is breaking down chemically. But we have found they can be resurrected if we place them in an oven, which warms the tapes up and will restore it so we can actually play it on one of our ancient quarter-inch tape machines. You have to learn to bake them correctly. If they're left in too long, you end up with this interesting piece of art, which used to be sound. I don't know. You can use these recordings as a inspiration sometimes for new things.
I've been working with Ben Bird, our sound designer, on episode 2 for the last couple of years, and he's the godfather of the Star Wars sound universe.
Make sure 6 is down in the first part of April.
Most people don't realize all the different sound elements that make up a final soundtrack of a film.
Pretty rough right now.
Like the Foley and the sound effects and the ADR and the production dialogue. And that process will take about a year before we get to the mix.
We're always on the alert for new sounds, and it's a 1942 gas air raid alert siren. It's disgusting. We collected a bunch of mechanical sirens, and that one was a real star. We took it and recorded it down in the parking garage so it really would echo. Now, we used this for the speeder's dive in the speeder chase. I love mechanical sounds, you know, things that are, especially old devices, things that aren't, you just can't find them anywhere. One of the sounds we gathered was the Vickers Vimy biplane, which Matt went out and recorded. The sound of that airplane ended up being used for the sound of the gunships that are in the Clone War at the end of the film. Some of the sound of that biplane was, I pitched it up and made it higher pitched sound out of it for the Geonosian fighters.
I'm the supervising sound editor. I provide him raw sound effects elements. The main thing when you're out recording is you're just going to look for something unique. Something you hear, you haven't heard it before, and you grab it and you can use it for, you know, anything.
The droid factory sequence required practically every bit of machinery we've ever recorded. Machines that we recorded back as far as Empire Strikes Back, some metal stamping machines that were used. I found in the past that we've used almost every sound we've recorded by the end of the film. All of those bits and pieces were brought into the sound design room and reworked to create new sounds out of them. I always wanted to blend the literal with the non-literal, which we've made machine sounds, stamping, cutting, banging, the things you might expect with these machines. But this is a foreign, alien world. What's to say it would sound like the Ford Motor Company? It should have some otherworldly quality to it. I'm constructing this mentally as I go, so it's sort of a intensive, it's composition. The idea of using percussion, musical sounds, intermixed with the actual organic sounds of the machinery. So it'll be a little bit of a surprise, have some kind of dramatic freshness to it, than to be just what the audience may expect going in. So we're just going to try it, and we can keep it separate, we can throw it away, we can use it. I just want to have follow through on this idea.
Anakin! How many times I told you to stay away from power couplings?
There's dialogue replacement because the set often can be very noisy.
You're crazy. Slow down.
If Anakin and Obi-Wan are riding in the speeder, well, there's wind machines blowing on them. The track is just unusable. It's recorded, and then it uses a guide for the actors to come in and repeat their performances to get a clean and intelligible version of the dialogue.
Has they all left to come to the ADR session yet?
You call it Naboo, don't you?
Naboo.
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 Let me just do a wild take of struggles and I can cut that in.
It's not like she has dialogue, remember?
That's true.
It's not dialogue, it's just struggling.
It's just struggling.
Okay. Here we go.
Could have a pair of lungs there.
Yeah.
No! No!
Beautiful.
That was good. Let's do one more for safety and
Yep, well, that was good.
What sort of movie are we doing?
exactly.
An action picture.
Here we go for take two. That was good.
That was great.
Yeah, I think we got that covered.
I'm doing I Hit the Ship as well, aren't I? Yeah.
Yes, it's all part of the same thing. Here we go. Take one.
I hit the ship, but they used a decoy.
Fucking nailed the sync on that one. That was great sync.
That was great,
That
too.
was great.
All right.
Happy?
That
was
one's
really
happy.
good.
I'm very happy
Beautiful.
for that one.
I want one more for safety, and I think we got it. Well, sorry. I'm sorry. I need one more.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just, I'm trying to look out for something.
You used to care.
I still care.
I hit the ship, but they used a decoy.
See, now I got so much more to work with. Okay, that was great. I think I'm fine here. You made my night.
Okay.
You have the digital characters too, which you have to start from scratch.
Take three, buddy.
The Padawan is right, and only those who have turned to the dark side can sense the possibilities of the future.
On this film, we're going to record something like close to 900 lines of the dialogue.
Meditate on that. I will. Or I must. Might as well get 3 in a row, right?
Beautiful. I think that's beautiful. I don't. That was take two or take one?
That was take two.
No, well, take two is the one. So I think we've done it.
Yeah.
I think you can go home now.
Yeah.
May I present Lama Su, Prime Minister of Kamino.
And this is Master Jedi
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Koya?
Aye.
Yes?
I'm just about done with spotting Lama Su here. So we're gonna need to take this. This is the composite reel you gave me from the picture department. I don't have time to send anything FedEx. If you could put it up on our internet server for Sound Firm over in Sydney, so they'll have the same media we have. And then I'll just make sure that the tie line's working, which is going halfway around the world.
Okay.
How far away are they? 15,000 miles?
Yeah, something like that.
So the actor's in Sydney, and George and I are gonna be in his theater in the main house.
Long distance looping.
Yeah.
The audio is going via ISDN. It's being encoded on both ends to sound CD quality. And then the video is actually, I've got duplicate video on both sides, and I'm just sending control information to both. So I'm not actually sending video.
Fett demanded only one thing, an unaltered clone for himself. Curious, isn't it? I have to hear it again.
Yeah, I think you had it, you were just one beat too early.
Fett demanded only one thing, an unaltered clone for himself. Curious, isn't it?
That was really good for the whole thing.
This is the best we've ever had it in terms of the setup and the quality, and the ability to actually do it. And
Yeah.
this works amazingly well considering that they're in Australia and we're here.
We tend to work with a smaller crew over a longer period of time compared to other feature films. We actually have a very small sound editing crew. We really did this film with 2 principal sound effects editors.
We have those elements of the metal, and then I'm going to add some dirt in. And then we still have these unrolling effects too, which are when the...
Bruce has been doing all the Genosium crowds and all the crashes and impacts and that sort of thing. Terry's working on the lasers. I'm doing the creatures. Some poor person is going to have to do all the lightsabers.
Right. Who is that person?
Hiya, Terry. How are you? So what do we have today?
Do I hear the arena?
A little bit of it, sure. See how dense it is. No, that's not enough lasers. Wow. See, they'll probably be shooting in those marching shots. I just don't know. But that's great. There'll be more lasers in this than ever before in any Star Wars movie. Density.
I think so.
Very good. So I'm off to my next round. Keep up the good work.
Foley are the sound effects that are really too specific to be found in a library.
I got the dippity-doo and the chamois.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this over.
We'll spot the scenes with the Foley department, and they will go through like an old radio play and perform them like with props. And the Foley editors will then put that in exact sync with the picture, and we'll mix it down as part of the effects track.
There was some really excellent Foley sounds done by Denny Thorpe and Jana Vance for the Cahoons crawling across the floor.
Give it a go. Thank you.
If it's asteroids exploding and, rocket ships flying by, that wouldn't be us. We carry the reels that have a lot of people that are moving and walking and doing stuff.
It just gives an added level of realism to the scene, especially if you're dealing with digital characters that have no sound whatsoever.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's awesome.
Nice job recording too, Pat.
Yeah. That one was not so good.
Maybe let's make them like a little parting, because there you can see that they're still together, and that they're going to come back together, and then we'll get another one.
But we got to make it sound, passionate.
Okay,
we're all set.
Let's let her rip.
Can't rip anymore. It's not film.
Wow, that's good. Ben, you're sweating.
Is that an elbow kiss or a forearm kiss or?
You have to kind of know what you're doing with your.
Okay, I don't want to know.
It was great.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
All right. Let's go to the next thing. Right now I'm just trying to create some buzzy, insecty kind of sounds out of actual speech. We started out speaking English, and then we slowly changed it word at a time. And then we started talking through the edge of a piece of paper, making a buzzy sound. I started cutting it up in little pieces and changing the speed, make it so it's too fast. You could never say it this way live. We talked about the idea that since Poggle apparently has 2 mandibles, he has an up and down and a side to side like a grasshopper, and that if I make this sort of buzzy thing, he would go, he would kind of do that with a funny little animation with part of his mouth and talk.
It's important that this be articulate like this, because I think it is reasonably articulate.
I mean, this is the most organic in terms of it's not pitch changed or anything, so there's no electronic aspect to it.
He said, "We have no choice but to order our retreat."
Okay, he's more emphatic about it.
So he's much more emphatic about it. But it means you should really see it. As long as you keep them not going on simultaneously.
Right.
Like they butt against each other, a word can form into that. It sounds great.
Yeah, it's good. It's the last voice in the whole film right now for me. From here on in, it's just a giant mix.
Can't believe we're here finally. My job is to work with the editors to make sure that we get all the elements of the film, like the Foley, the sound effects, the replaced dialogue, the production dialogue, and the sound design, and to make sure that they get all of those elements into sync with the most current picture, and then we bring that to the mix.
The final mix lasts for about a month on a Star Wars film. We go into a dark room every day, and we listen to every sound and every bit of music and every bit of dialogue, and we inch our way through each scene, sometimes only completing a few minutes a day. He can immediately decide whether he wants some major changes of some sort, often tearing things apart and putting them back together a different way until we find something that really satisfies us all and will satisfy George Lucas.
Gary and Ben are in charge. There isn't anybody else who has any power over here.
The first day of the final is always unknown. You never know what's going to happen until you start running it all together. The whole problem is that we haven't heard, Michael's done the dialogue, he hasn't really heard everything that we've done in effects, we haven't heard the music at all, so it all...
Throw it all into the pot right off the bat and then sort it out.
Sometimes it's a surprise how it all sounds together.
It's kind of like brainwashing in a way. You go in, and you're in the dark, there's loud sounds, there's one source of light on you.
The pop.
Boop! Oh, everybody stood up to attention. You hear things over and over and over again.
Yeah, be careful with their little squeaky sounds, their little chirpy chipmunk sounds. Yeah, there's some great Foley in here, but I guess you don't have Foley, do you? There's a little cutie stuff in there. I think it's too close to what R2 does, and it's also.
I think that is R2.
You're hearing the R2.
It's R2 sleeping off screen. He's snoring.
Well, and get rid of it.
He's paid by the beat, George.
Yeah, he jabbers.
R2 was lost, and I hope he's not too disappointed. But it happens to all of us. We do things that get cut out of the movie. You know? I've done a million things that are cut out of the movie, so.
It would be nice if we could record for that guy that almost runs into Obi-Wan, not the two guys, but the first guy.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you should say, "What the?" It's a traditional line. It's in all the movies, and it would be a good place for it, I think.
What the?
I love that horn.
Oh, the beep beep.
The tucker. Well, now we got reel 1 done. Now what do we do? Can you put up reel 2, please? Well, good luck. Take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning.
But minor details, they add up to things. They can add up to significant changes if you do enough of them. Coming right up here, it's like that and that.
So I'm doing now is a welding, which is I think going to take a while.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not rushing you.
I'm just thinking
checking
ahead.
in.
Good morning, Mr. Burt. Cookies. Who's got cookies? Okay. I guess we're on effects. I think it needs to be more like chattering. Like crying. And that kind of stuff. Not this kind of.
Can you borrow that microphone for a second?
Wait till you hear the Droid Factory. There's a real collision of
A cacophony of craziness?
movie styles coming together.
Now, what do you think about this?
It's a tough one.
I just don't think the percussion is strong enough to withstand what's going on in there. I think
Yeah,
we should just
alternate.
replace the percussion part with effects.
In actuality, some of the musical sounds that I had made for the Droid Factory, the drums and things like that, were dropped, but the idea was sort of reborn in the monster fight. Rhythmic sounds that acted as a response to events on the floor of the arena. Horns, as if it was a sports, wild sports crowd blowing horns and chanting. Kinds of things that we immediately associate with the emotions of a giant crowd in a stadium. It was a good trade, actually. Because that's the nature of making these films, that you can always change something, and there's always you can revisit a scene and evaluate it one more time. It's an ongoing process that is really only brought to the end by the calendar.
I don't know whether I should bring it up now, but I guess I should. Yeah. I had a rather, this is just an aside, which will probably cause you a lot of angst. But we're almost done, so I can't do this anymore. It's back in Palpatine's office. The little hologram comes on, and he says, "Good, we'll deal with this later. Send them in."
Yeah.
That should really be good. Send them in. We'll deal with this later. See what you can do.
I'm gonna cook up some, cook up the words.
Good. Send them in. We will discuss this matter later.
I don't think so.
What is this sound? I'm not going to tell you. Actually, it's arcing. It's electrical arcing.
From 25 years ago.
Yeah. Just seems like it's not good enough. There's always a point toward the end during the final mix that I can actually sit down and address the absolute final details, and that adds what I would say the final accent to a moment in the film. During the asteroid chase, which is basically a sound effects only sequence, it was hard to come up with a sound for the seismic charge that would have dramatic contrast to every sound that had just preceded it. It didn't occur to me until we were in the final mix, struggling with this problem, that the best solution might be to have no sound. I reasoned that all energy was pulled into it. No sound could escape. And it was only after it had detonated that somehow the energy was released and then the sound occurred. I created what I call an audio black hole. Certainly at this point, it's just going to be minor details that are changing. We'll shape the reels all together as if it was final and then play it for him again, and he'll decide.
Understand that it basically creates a vast amount of havoc at this end if you make changes after the mix.
Yes, it's a little complicated. It's inevitable, George. You've done it every time. Yeah, it's you know, what would it be without a sync change in 7? We wouldn't feel right. Every filmmaker feels that as long as there's time,
A couple of shots.
there's something they can do to improve the movie. New animation or something?
Well, no, we made some changes on the Monaco one, and they hadn't gotten into the deluxe one because they were trying to go so fast. But I said, no, go back and make it right before you make the printing masters. You know, there's a reason why we improve a shot.
Right. And then it's just traditional to work until someone just takes it away from you. You know, films are not released, they escape.
Amazing.
I know.
It is.
It's amazing to see it.
I know, sure.
For
It was the first
time.
time through the whole movie.
Yeah, it's like,
and,
this is normally what people get to see at the first rough cut screening.
Yeah, I know. I cannot look at it and just just sort of think of all the hours, you know, just that we've lived with this for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's a matter now of meeting or not meeting expectations. That's that whole factor you can't predict.
Hey, we're beyond that now. We finished
right.
it. It's a movie. We're done. We did it. We did our part.